No, you can't. 'Cause I do. Hey, everybody. They saying, hey, Tanya. Let me see. I'm gonna give it a few more minutes, you guys, before I start. Oh, I like this better. You got it that light. You heard me, Tanya?
Okay, I hear you now. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just telling you they were saying, hey.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Our girl is still here. Echoing, everybody.
Hey, Red Bunny. Hey, Spitfire. Hey, everybody. Sorry, y'all. I had I literally probably been in the house 40 minutes. I had to give me something to eat before I started. I'm like, going to court is like going to work and then coming home and going back to work.
We appreciate it.
Nah, I know. I'm just joking. Thank you. Hold on. I got to get my Taylor Port. You drink that? Have you had some of that Taylor Port?
Mm-hmm.
Girl.
What is it? Let me see the bottle. You have one?
Let me see the bottle. Yeah. Girl.
It's good?
It's good, but it'll get you messed up. Like these young kids out here buying it. They selling out of this so fast in the stores because of how the kids buying it. But this is what it looks like.
Okay. What is it actually?
It's a wine.
Oh, okay.
It's a wine, but it is 18% alcohol.
Oh, dang.
Anybody in this chat under the age of 21, I do not support underage drinking. Everybody on this chat should be over 21. I just had to put that little yeah.
Hi, Tracy. I mean,
It's real good though, Tanya. It tastes. Do you remember Wild Irish Rose?
yeah, but I don't know if I've ever had any of it.
Tania said, I'm drinking Remy. I can't drink no Remy.
Yes, I know I have back there. Hold on. I'm gonna leave out and come back.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, it's a red wine. It's a red wine, right? Yeah, it's a red wine. Yeah, I'm going to court tomorrow. Yeah, I know what. I'm supposed to be at the airport right now.
I'm going out. Yeah, hold on.
They won't even give me. They wouldn't even switch my ticket.
Wow.
They suck. But I didn't want to miss tomorrow because tomorrow is the cross examination for Jennifer. She's the only one left to cross examine Lisa Van Allen. Trial and error is the echo on my side. I'm gonna have to block Felicia. She only 14. She can't be in here. I'm drinking and showing alcohol. And is there an echo? Somebody said it's an echo for me. Okay. Let me see. Okay, not on my side. Oh, okay. Hold on, y'all. Let me get her back in here. Okay, say something now, Tanya.
You still hear it?
I don't hear it. I don't hear it. Well, we can go ahead and just start anyway. All right. So today started with another polygraph expert. His name was okay. That's what it looks like. No, no, no. I'm sorry. Let me go back. But it did start with a polygraph expert. But before that, the government wanted to raise some issues that of concerns that they had. The first one was the gallery outbursts. The judge just said, okay, well, no more outbursts from the gallery. If so, everybody be asked to leave. Will I be there next week? I should be for at least the first couple of days. And before we get started, too, the government they also said that they're going to. I said yesterday that they said they were finished by Wednesday, but now they're saying they're gonna probably take their whole 3 weeks, so they won't finish up about around the end of the week. Um, Brown had some motions, and I think these motions were under seal, so they were saying that those motions will be responded to by the end of the week. They wanted another one of the Browns attorneys addressed that Keith Morrell, they said that them and Brown's defense attorneys plus the co-counsel, they wanted to make sure that when he testifies truthfully, they said it's a very strong chance that his testimony is going to be very similar to how Charles Freeman's testimony went. They said that his statements have already been inconsistent, and they asked that the government be not allowed to ask questions that they know Keith will be responding with answers like either Durham McDavid or Milton Brown, because then that leads to speculation. And the judge says that's correct. You can't do that. So he sided with the defense on that. They're not allowed to ask questions like, um, for example, who did you give the tape to? Well, I gave the tape to either Durham McDavid or I gave it to Milton Brown. He has to be able to say which one for certain. They say it's too many defendants in this case to be saying either or, and he could possibly be sending somebody to jail, two people to jail based off the same evidence, and that wouldn't be right. So the judge agreed, and he sided with the defense. And then they also raised that they do not want the polygraph's notes. So this examiner, apparently he took notes on the side about whatever he was seeing or what was happening during the test. And he scribbled little stuff on the side. And they were saying that that shouldn't be admitted into evidence because they actually can't say for certain what the notes were about, if it was actually true. The only thing that should be allowed into evidence is that they actually took the test and whether they passed or failed. So the judge granted the motion to strike the questions and the notes on that from the polygraph examiner. The defense is saying because they went on to keep talking about it. So the defense was saying, which is McDavid's attorneys is saying, the only reason why the government really wanted to be able to bring those notes into evidence is because it discusses the images that was on the tape that he did the actual tape test on, and that was a test that was given to Lisa and Keith. So the judge still upheld his ruling and said he strike the notes. So then the polygraph examiner, his name was Beaumont. He's a practicing attorney. He has been for over 30 years, I believe. He's a licensed polygraph examiner. He gave us a brief description of his work, his history, and his education. He said in 2007 he was hired by Ed Jensen to administer the polygraph. He said, yes, they were friends. And he consulted with him about the nature of the test beforehand. He needed to figure out what the test will be about so that he knows what type of questions and things to ask. It's the same as before, it's how they prepare themselves. So he said he also had an office space where he conducted his test. He keeps and maintains all his records for every test he does. They showed Exhibit 323 to 327, which was records pertaining to that case. It was basically forms. He was describing the forms that he had right then in his possession. It just consent forms, the same thing. It's the consent forms, their name, their address, which was redacted, the date that they tested on, and then he just gave the information on where the test was done at and his signature. Um, so that was pretty much what those paperwork is just consent forms. During the test, it's always just him and the subject. At this time, they showed a picture of the consent form. He showed how he filled out the top part of the consent form. The bottom part was signed by Lisa on March the 23rd, 2007. He said interviews normally take about 45 minutes. Her results for the first test, she passed that examination. She was provided her results, and so was Ed Jensen. He doesn't recall how he told him, like, he don't know if he called him or because Ed Jensen's law office was in the same building, if he just went to his office and told him. Exhibit 323, it shows the same form for Keith Morrell. That on April the 17th, 2017, the client being Ed Jensen, he was the one that was ordering the polygraph exam. This was done at the Westin Hotel. Jensen chose that location. Said he's familiar with Daryl McDavid. He knew him to be the manager for R. Kelly. He says he can't remember or not if Daryl was actually there that day. They began to show the consent form for Keith. His results said that he was not truthful. This is the first test. He provided the results to him and Jensen. Exhibit 326. It was another polygraph exam done for Lisa at the Swiss Hotel. He said he believes that it was a re-exam, but he can't be sure. Showing the consent form signed and dated on 4/20/07 showed that she was truthful. Exhibit 324 was another exam for Keith. This was a re-exam. He said he must have made some type of omissions, so they retested him to know if what he was saying now was the truth. He signed it, but the date was left partial, so he only put April, didn't put the date or the year. But the actual date in question was 4/20/07 as well. So him and Lisa were both tested on that same day. He said he can't say whether Keith's test was done at the Swiss Hotel or not. He do not recall who may have been with him. He was asked 3 questions and he passed. Exhibit 327, another polygraph was done for Lisa. This was her third. The date was July 26, 2007. She was asked 3 questions and she did not pass. So she passed the first 2, but she did not pass the second. There was nothing further from the government with that. Let me know. Remember what we said earlier? If you see anything, let me know. The cross-examination came from McDavid first. He said you testified about 5 tests. Yes. 3 for Lisa, 2 for Keith. Yes. For each, you were hired by an attorney. Yes. He was the most prominent attorney. Yes. And a good friend of mine. You knew him prior to the test. Yes. When I was a federal prosecutor. Also, you work for the same office as them. Yes. So to get the test done, he hired you. Yes. Office is in the same building. Yes. Office looked the same for the most part. He said he pretty much talked about, well, yeah, for the most part, every office that he's been in pretty much was very similar. He said he doesn't he said he may have made the arrangements as to where, who, and what the test was supposed to be about. Yes, meaning Jensen. The results was given to the subject plus Jensen. Jensen paid you, right? Yes. You don't know who gave Oh, he said once you gave him the results, you don't know who he may have given the results to. He said, no, that's not really any of my business. Um, he told you why he wanted them done. Yes, for the purpose of okay, for the purpose of trial. Yes, and you said that they failed. Yes. But yes. Um, he says only two people were in the room. If someone if someone wants if someone else was to be in the room, the only time that happens is when they have when they need like an interpreter. He said he don't know if someone may have been in the waiting room, and he don't know, but it's possible someone in the waiting room can actually hear the questions. He said no videos were made, etc. They didn't do no recordings, anything like that. Yes. No. You have no memory of Daryl McDavid being there? No. So he was done. There was nothing further. Jennifer was up next, but she just basically adopted Daryl McDavid's testimony, so she had no questions. At this time, the government brings in Lisa Van Allen. She comes in, just signing in. She comes in. Um, she says she's 42 years old. Her birthday is June 11th, 1980. She said she knew Rob because they had dated a while ago. She acknowledged Rob in the courtroom. At that time, the government wanted everybody to take their mask off so she could pretty much identify him in the courtroom, but they objected to that and they said uh, they just objected to it, and the good judge agreed. We didn't have to do that. She's identified him. They was like, that's enough. Did you previously testify against Kelly? Yes. Did you receive immunity prior to 2008 trial? She said yes. She said she was supposed to testify about Kelly and to be truthful about her participation. She received immunity from the state and from the federal. She said she met him in 1998 when she attended a video shoot in Georgia. She said she went with a friend who was an aspiring singer. She said she can't remember the month, but said she thought it was a colder month because she was kind of cold. But it ended up, she said, but it was August. She said Blackie said his cousin Kelly wanted to meet me. So he took her in a golf cart so she could meet him. She met him. Rob asked her if she had a boyfriend, what was her age, and would her mother let her come to Chicago. She told him she was 17 and said that yes, um, she told him that she was 17 and she said yes, that her mother would allow her to come. And she said she was 17 because she thought she was being honest about her age. She said she went to the trailer, back to his trailer. They had sex. He went back to the shoot. And when he came back, they exchanged numbers and she called him about a month later. So Exhibit 104, the government is showing her a picture of R. Kelly at the Grammys, the same picture from the video of him singing I Believe I Can Fly. And they asked, is this how you remember him looking in 1998? She said yes. So you said you called about a month later. What did you discuss? She said, well, we talked about when just basic things and then when I can come back to Chicago. She said she did ended up going back to Chicago. He put her in contact with Milton Brown. She said she talked to Brown. He had called her and said who he had called her and said who he was. They discussed him sending her money to book her trip. She went and a limo was at the airport to pick her up, take her to the hotel. She called Brown once she got to the hotel to go to the studio to see Rob. Got to the studio, met with Rob, listened to some music. They talked, eventually had sex. She said she didn't stay long because she had to work. She was there probably less than a week. She said the whole time she was there, they probably ate, talked, listened to music, and had sex. Um, she said she then went back to ATL. They asked, did you continue to talk to Rob? She said yes. She said they talked about her coming back to Chicago. Said eventually she did ended up moving to Chicago. That was probably about a week or so later. She said he kept making her miss her flights when she would get there. He'd always just say, hold on or something. So she told him, you're going to make me lose my job. And he asked her, well, how much do you make? And she told him, and he then gave her cash. She said she pretty much lived in a hotel, but she was mostly with him at Track Studio. They asked, how many times have you been there? She said, I've been to the studio hundreds of times. So how much time did you actually spend at that studio? She said the majority of the time was spent there. We slept there. There was a kitchen. There was a bathroom. Pretty much everything, all the sleeping accommodations that you would need. She said if she stayed at the studio, she said she would stay at the studio, but sometimes go back to the hotel if she wanted to like take a bath or just just go back and get whatever she was doing, hang out. She said Kelly paid for the hotels. They asked what was the nature of your relationship. She said it was sexual, romantic, yes. She's seen him daily. In the beginning, they had sex a few times a day for the first year. Then it decreased in frequency. And did he say things to you during sex? Yeah, he did. Stuff like what noises to make, what positions to be in, etc. Did he tell you to call him anything? Yes, Daddy. Objection. Um, there was an objection. She still answered the question, even though she heard them object. And then Bonjean was saying, what is that? Why is that even relevant? She was grown. It shouldn't matter. So then they went on. They asked that he videotaped most of the times. He videotaped most of the times when we had threesomes. Um, she said she was exclusive in the relationship. She only slept with other people when it was during their threesomes, but he slept with other people. Were you allowed to speak to other men in his presence? Objections, relevance. That was a sidebar. And I guess she was allowed to answer because they asked the question again and she said no. Were other men allowed to speak to you? No. Eye contact? No. Did he hit you? Yes. What things, what reasons would he have to hit you? Oh, because we didn't listen to Daddy, or I laughed at a joke that someone else told, etc. Um, have you visited the George Street home? She said yes. They showed her exhibit 112A. It was a picture of the George Street home. She said the first time she remembers seeing it, it was in 1998. She said she'd been there about 10 times. She visited the Olympia Fields home too, sometime maybe around 2000, something like that. Um, Exhibit 122 was a picture of the Olympia Fields home. They asked, did you visit the home in 2007 as well? Yes. Have you met she said, you met Milton Brown when you moved to Chicago? Yes. How many times would you see Milton Brown? She said, well, often I would see him at the gym, or he would pick me up to take me places wherever Rob told him to take me to. She said she had known him because he had worked for Rob. How often did you see him? She said, well, not often. He would come get me when to take me to the office, the lawyer's office or something, to go pick up a check or pick up some cash. She said she's had, huh? Okay, so they said, do you know Jane? Yes. How? Through Rob. We had a threesome. How many times? About 3 times. I met her in 1998. She said when she first met Jane, they went to the home on George Street. Her and Rob went into meaning Lisa and Rob went into the log cabin, and then Rob went upstairs and got Jane. Rob told her that that was his neighbor and that she was 16. She said her first time meeting Jane was in that log cabin. So then they showed 3 pictures, exhibit 112D, 112F, and 112G, which was all pictures of that room. She said after the 3 of them was in the room, she said they had sex. She said there was a camcorder, a tripod. She said Rob would put up the tripod. She said he put it up before the sex. While they were having sex, he would stop and reposition the cameras to make sure it got all the angles. She said they had oral sex and intercourse. He directed the sex. He would tell them to moan louder or kiss or move a certain way. She said she did watch the video. The second time they had sex was in 1999. It was at the basketball court in his home, which she said was like the Space Jam room. That's exhibit 112J. That was the picture that they showed us of that basketball room was dated for February 25th, 2002. So I'm assuming that these are pictures that they used for his trial in 2008. She said he put a futon in the room from another room, and they had a threesome on there. They set the camcorder up. She saw him do it. She said it's the type of camcorder that takes VHS tapes. Rob told them again what to do during sex. They asked her, "Did you express any reservations?" She said yes. She said she started crying. And then he asked her, like, what am I supposed to do with this? And if she's crying, she said she did that because she didn't want to do it, but she did it because he told her to. The third time they had sex was in 2000. It was at a video shoot, The Woman's Threat. She said they had a threesome in a trailer. It was also recorded. She said, okay, y'all just listen to what I'm saying about the times that she had sex, because all of this just made me think of something that I'm gonna speak on later. So just remember these parts. She said the third time that they had sex was in 2000 at a video shoot. It was a Woman's Threat. They had a threesome in a trailer. It was recorded. She said it was Rob's idea. She said she had seen him set it up, and it was interrupted because Regina Daniels and some other employees had came in. Jane had ran into the bathroom naked, and she said, but she didn't have to. There was a break at that point. When we came back, the government continued. I believe it's the government. We're still in the government. You told the jury that Kelly would videotape. Am I still on the jury? Yeah. You told the jury that Kelly would videotape. Do you know where he kept the tapes? Yes, in the duffel bag. How do you know that they were in there? She said, because you can kind of hear them shuffling around in the bag. And then she went on and she said eventually she went in and she actually saw them in there. She said that he kept them with him at most times, on his bus, at hoops where he went to play ball. She said he kept them with him at all times. After sex with Jane, did you make a statement about her after the sex with Jane? It was one particular time where she had made a statement about her upcoming birthday. There was an objection, and then Bonjean just withdrew the question. So then they said, did that statement have an effect on you? She said, yes. Would you say it was a positive or a negative? It was negative. Did you do anything? She said, yes, I did. I did do something. I told him I didn't want to have any dealings with her. She told her, what Jane had told her was that she was getting a PT Cruiser for her 16th birthday, and this was around 2000. It had an effect on her because she was told that she was 16 2 years prior. She said she didn't want to do a threesome, and she definitely didn't want to do one with a 14-year-old. She says she know Keith because he was one of Rob's artists. He was a singer in the group Talent, signed to his label. She said she met him at the Holiday Inn downtown Chicago around 99 or 2000s. She said we're good friends, but I'm not really in touch with him. She says they haven't spoken a while. Since being in touch, they're pretty much just friends on Facebook. She says they spoke a while ago about the Chuck situation, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. Do you know who reached out to who? She said Keith reached out to me on Facebook to let me know that Chuck will be calling me, and this is the number he's calling from. So in 2000, Keith was staying at the same hotel. She had went back to the hotel to eat, and that's how they became friends. She said Ernest had saw her and knew she was with Rob, so he would always say hey, but he was being funny because he knew that she couldn't speak back. So she said she called Rob to tell him that those guys were trying to talk to her and they were speaking to her, but he wouldn't come to the phone. So she was just like, okay, well, whatever. And then she just, befriended them. And then they had told her that they got a $25 meal ticket or $25 to eat or something. So she said she went ahead and she would just buy them food. You say what, Tanya?
She lying.
So then she said at one point she was left alone at the studio with the tapes at Track Studio. She said I was in Rob's room. She describes the room. She said this was around 2000. She don't remember what part exactly. She said they were in a duffel bag. She went in the bag. She said because she was interested in what was in the bag. And she said after looking, she started looking for a tape with her on it. She went through and popped multiple tapes into the VHS until she found them. She said she watched them to see if she was on there, and she kept looking for videos. And the reason why she kept doing that is because she said she didn't want Rob having any tapes of her having sex or no threesomes. At this point, she starts to cry. She said she found the tape. She said the first part, pay attention to this, you guys. She said the first part of the tape was him and Jane, and he was giving her water to pee. And the second scene, it was in a bedroom, and she was wearing white lingerie. Jane was wearing, it was him and Jane again. Jane was wearing white lingerie. And in the third scene, it was all three having a threesome. How do you know that it was Jane? She said, because I know what she looked like. We've had sex before. It was just, she says in the first two scenes, it was just him and her. She said the setting looked like a checkerboard floor. She said she had seen that room at the George Street house. Do you remember hearing them speak? She says, yes. What do you remember hearing? She said, I remember her drinking water, and I remember talk about her 14-year-old pussy. The second, she said she was wearing that white lingerie. And she said it was the same two people. And then she said she got through 2 videos. What? And then she said when she got through those 2 videos, she found what she wanted. It was them having sex in the log cabin. She viewed it. It was Rob, her, and Jane. They were having oral sex and intercourse, and they were all performing oral on each other. The directions was being told by Rob, but given to, okay. So the directions, once again, Rob was giving them directions, but he was mainly giving them to Jane. But giving to the attorney said, he said her name. So I'm sorry, you guys. This part right here is actually McDavid's attorney. This is his lead. This is Bo actually talking to her. He says Jane's real name in the courtroom. So they had to do a quick sidebar. He came back. He said he made a mistake. And he said Jane. So then they went back to setting the scene for the jury. How did you feel going through those tapes? Disgusted, nervous, because she was afraid he would walk in the room before she was done. Afraid because she was sneaking and wasn't supposed to be in there. She said she took the tape and went to the hotel, sent to Keith in Kansas, and didn't want. She said she took the tape and sent it to Keith in Kansas because she didn't want Rob to find out that she had it. Give me 1 second, because I'm trying to give me 1 second, Tanya, y'all. I'm just trying to make sure that this is all. So okay, scratch that. That was the other attorney. Her attorney actually called the girl by name, so that wasn't. I haven't got to that cross examination. That's my fault. Um. So they were setting the scene for the jury. How did you feel going through the tapes? I just went through all that. She said she took the tape 2001. She said she left Kelly because she was tired of doing nothing. She wasn't being successful in her life. Her life was basically just put on pause. She wasn't succeeding in anything, so she went back to the ATL. She said she was getting up every day doing the same thing, going to the studio, eating, talking, listening to music, having sex. So she said after that she left, and she said at first when she left they would still speak regularly. She said she saw him that July 4th. She said some jewelry. Kelly had left some jewelry around her. Says yes, a Rolex watch. She said he left it in her hotel room. He was supposed to have came back to her room because they were supposed to went out, but he didn't. He ended up never asking for it. This was about 2001. They were actually in Georgia. She said she wondered how many people he was actually sleeping around with that he didn't even think to ask her about a $30,000 watch. He also left a cross necklace there. He didn't ask for it. He never asked for it. So she ended up sending those things to Keith. She said it was pretty much the same situation. He never asked for it, so she never said anything about it. So from 2001 to 2006, Kelly never asked about the tape. Dora McDavid didn't ask about the tape. Brown didn't ask about the tape. She said she didn't have it in her possession. She only sent it to Keith, not to anyone else in Georgia. She only knows Chuck through Keith. He's not a friend. He's more of an associate. She said, like, you will never catch us having lunch or at the mall or anything like that together. Did you ever tell him that the tape was in Georgia? No, I did not. Speaking about Chuck. 2007. You became aware that he still had the tape. She said yes, she had a long convo with Keith about the tape. She learned at some point that he was trying to sell it. So she told Keith that the tape should go back to Rob. She felt that he had the most to lose, and plus he had the trial coming up. So she said to give it back to him. And she didn't want it out either. He said Keith did not want to give the tape back to Kelly. Do you know Yul Brown? She said, yes, that's my son's father. They were dating during her convo that she had with Keith about the tapes. That was also your fiance, correct? They asked, were you still together? No. You told Yul about the tape and her convo with Keith. She said she planned on telling Rob, but Yul ended up doing it first. He asked her for Rob's phone number, and she felt like, okay, well, if I don't give him the phone number, then he's going to wonder what's going on with us. So she said she just gave him the number, not expecting him to actually call Rob. Yul told her that he did call Rob. And then she said she ended up going to Chicago after that. Rob wanted her to talk. Rob wanted to talk to her in person. Rob wanted to talk to her in person and about that tape, and this was around 2007. She said she came to Chicago, seen Kelly about a couple of days later. She came to Chicago about a couple of days later, and she seen Kelly. She said she seen him at his home in Olympia Fields. Kelly and her went into the pool area. She said they got undressed, and then they talked about people making mistakes and things like that. And then he asked her if she could get it back. She said yes, and he offered her a certain amount of money if she did. She said this all happened while they were in the jacuzzi with their clothes off, and there was an objection, but she still answered the question. And then Jennifer said, and she's still answering because she objected. She answered the question. Jennifer's like, whatever. She still answered, whatever. So Kelly brought up. She said that Kelly brought up the money. He told us that he would give us $250,000 to whoever had the tape and involved her in that. There was another objection. And then she said, they asked her again. Kelly said she can get it. And she said, yes. He said he'll give me $250,000 to get it back, and she can disperse it any way she liked to. And then he told her to deal with Daryl McDavid pertaining to the tape. She said she knew who Daryl McDavid was. She then contacted Keith. They traveled to Chicago together. She came back. She came back to Chicago again after the pool incident, but that time she came by herself. That was in 2007 in March. But then they showed Exhibit 325. It was the consent form again. She said she don't remember where she stayed at that visit. She didn't have to pay. She met with Daryl McDavid at a lawyer's office somewhere downtown Chicago. It was by Dunkin' Donuts, so it was technically right across the street from the building that we're actually in court in. She said she rode with Ewell and met up with Brown. Then she rode with Brown to go to the office. The other people that were there was Daryl McDavid, the polygraph expert. She said there she watched the tape, the one that she had took and gave to Keith. Keith was there. She said she watched it with Daryl McDavid. She actually said they were in a hotel room, and when Daryl McDavid watched the video with her, Keith was sitting on the couch in the living room area, and her and Daryl went into a bedroom and they watched the tape. She said that was where they first watched that tape during that second visit. That was March the 23rd, 2007 was the first time she took the tape to the lawyer's office. They showed Exhibit 325 again, which was the consent form, and they started asking questions once again about that consent form. That's for the polygraph test. They said earlier you talked about 250,000. Did you think that you were getting the money at this meeting? She said, not really at that point, because she said they hadn't received the tape. At the hotel, it was Keith in the living room. I just went over that, but I'm gonna say it again. At the hotel, it was Keith in the living room, and her and Daryl McDavid went into the bedroom. He put the tape in, and then they were watching it, and he was asking her if this was it. She said she had seen the same scene she'd seen before, Jane and Rob, white lingerie, and then the third with all three. Did you watch all the scenes? Yes. Was there sound on? Not sure. Then he asked, was that all of it? She said she was expecting to receive money. She says, not sure. They said, were you expecting to receive money then? She says, not sure. And then she says that they were going to get the full amounts after the trial. She said there was going to be another visit because Keith had failed his polygraph test, so she knew that. They both received $20,000 that day each from Daryl McDavid. Daryl told them that they was only getting that until Keith brought back all the copies, and then they would get the rest. That's when she said she found out at that time that there were more tapes. She said she understood the rest would be the remaining after the 40K. The rest would be the remaining after the 40K. So 210,000. Um, she said they came a second time to Chicago, which was a few months later. He shows her something to remind her of the exact date. So it was actually a month later, April of 2007. She came in to take the second lie detector test. She said that was in her office at the lawyer's. She said she doesn't remember if where she stayed at maybe had been the Omni. She said she received, listen to this, she said she received 50K. She said she received 50K and Keith received 80K. She said the only reason that she didn't get more is because Daryl had told her it was her fault. Um, it was her fault that he even had to pay that out, and that she failed the polygraph. Daryl then gave her the 50,000. After she went back to the hotel room, she reached out to Keith. Brown drove her back to the room to and from. He drove her to there and back to the room. The third time she met with Daryl McDavid was in 2007, July 26, 07. He shows her exhibit 327 to refresh her memory. She said she made the arrangements on her own because Daryl McDowell said that it was because of her that they had to pay out all this money on these tapes. She said she took another test. She had another conversation after the third poly. She said she said that they would get her the remainder after the trial. Daryl McDavid at that time told her that she failed the test and he should have murked her from the beginning. She took that to mean that he would kill her. Now she starts crying again. There's a pause. No one was present when he had said that to her, but she said she did hear the attorneys outside the office, probably on the phone or something. They were at the lawyer's office on Jackson. He then asked, Daryl McDavid then asked her to make a statement to the lawyer that she had never had sex with Jane. Daryl McDavid she says Daryl McDavid told her what to say in that statement. She said she had never had sex with Jane and it was all a lie. And she did that because she was afraid not to say that. She said she made the misstatements after he said that he would murk her. Now she's breaking down. She's crying harder now at this point. She says the lawyer was out. Like I said, she said the lawyer was outside the room. He was on the phone. She could hear him on the phone. She said she felt afraid and nervous. She got the money on this trip from Daryl McDavid. They asked, "Were you upset about that comment?" She said, "Very." She said she told Daryl McDavid that she was upset. Said that she told him, I'm going to tell Rob. And he said, well, Rob knew everything that was going on. So she said when she got back to the car, she told Brown because he had asked what was wrong with her because he seen that she was crying. So then they went to 2008. She contacted the state prosecutors about the tape that she took. She agreed to testify against him. Says that she was afraid that because they had said that they was going to murk her and she had a daughter. 2001, Yul Brown, which was her fiance at that time, was arrested. She said the alarms in her house started going off and she realized that the police was in her house. They came in and found guns and they arrested him. When she decided to testify, she said she told them everything about the money that she had got for the tape. And she said she also met with a PI during that time for Kelly. She said first she had met with a lady and then she had met with Jack Palladino. I just thought it was, well, I guess that's not a coincidence, whatever. Okay, she said she was never charged with soliciting a bride. Did you have a book deal leading up to leading up to the trial? She said no. Were you in the courthouse in 2008? Yes. At different points and days at the courthouse? Yes. Did you see people that you recognize? Yes, Daryl McDavid. He was in the hallway when I was heading in to testify. Exhibit 123, that was a shot. It was a photo that was showing her only. There was an objection, then it was sustained. She identified that they said that she identified Daryl McDavid in court, so she didn't need to do it in a picture. Did you see Daryl McDavid in the courthouse? Yes. Did you see Kelly and Daryl McDavid in the courthouse? Yes. Did you see Brown in the courthouse? Yes. Did you see Kelly Brown and Daryl McDavid in the courthouse? Yes. Did they show you a video before trial? Yes. Of Rob and Jane having sex in a log cabin. She said she knew it again. She said she knew it was them because she knows them. She said she's never seen video one before, and before that, but she testified about that video in 2008. There was nothing further from the government. We went and we took a lunch break, and when we came back, McDavid's attorney, his lead attorney, was cross-examined. And y'all bear with me. I ain't even took a sip of this. Okay, she said, he started off, he said, I'm just going to ask you some general questions. Would you agree sometime when someone lies about a topic, you would think that person would be, that person should be doubted? And she said, well, it depends on the situation. She said, well, he said, well, what if they lie under oath? She said, I don't know. What about a person that steals? She said it depends on the circumstances. What about a person that fakes emotions and just to manipulate people? Is that someone that you think you can trust? And she said, who would do something like that? Have you ever lied about the tapes involving Rob? She said no. He said under oath? No. About the relationship you had with him? No. Have you ever lied to law enforcement about the videos of Rob? No. You said that you watched the child porn with Daryl McDavid. Yes. You remember that clearly. Yes. It was a memorable event. She said, I don't understand what you mean by memorable. She said, well, he said, well, it's not something that you do every day. That's not an everyday event. So then she said, well, yes, it is. She said, you remember how it happened? He said, you remember how it happened in the hotel room? Yes. You remember what hotel? No. The tape was given to Daryl McDavid, and she said, well, I don't know how he received it. Keith was taking the test? Yes. So you didn't watch it in the lawyer's office? She said, no. I wasn't present for the exchange of the tape between Keith and Daryl McDavid. You spoke with the law enforcement about this case, right? Yes. In Chicago? Yes. In New York? Yes. One discussion was on March 7, 2019. She said, I don't remember the dates. Showing the report to refresh her memory at that time. So you talked to the investigators a couple of years ago. Yes. You told them you and Keith had met with Daryl McDavid at Rob's attorney's office, where Keith gave Daryl McDavid the tape. I don't recall saying that. How can I give him the tape? I didn't have it. She said, he told her, just wait and answer my question. First, let me show you this report. You see your signature and a date? Yes. You understand that you understand that they make these reports? Yes. Read this to yourself until you get to the word money. So she began to read it to herself. This was McDavid's exhibit 16. So is it true you told the agents that you and Keith met at Kelly's attorney's office and gave them the tape? That's how they took that. That's not what I said. That wasn't the only time you spoke to the agents. No, you had a convo with the agent in Chicago. Yes. After she spoke with the agents from New York. Not sure which order it was. Okay. So 426 2019 was is it true you told agents from Homeland Security that with respect to the claim about the tape, you and Keith went to the office on Jackson to meet with Daryl McDavid and had been driven there by Brown. You watched the videotape in the attorney's office on Jackson. Objection. Overruled. Ask the question again. I don't remember. Okay, I'm going to show you something again. The report. Asking her to read it silently to herself. It seems that's what I said, but I don't remember. There's no crime in not remembering, right? I don't recall watching this in the office or watching it again. So you're not disputing that you gave two different statements. I said I didn't remember that. You gave a statement to the grand jury in Chicago under oath. When they took that, you signed the statement, and you also signed the statement before you went in to give your testimony to the grand jury. Can you repeat that? He says, I guess so, yeah. It was read under oath to you. I said to the best of my knowledge on here. Yes, I said to the best of my knowledge. That statement also talked about the meeting that you claimed happened where you said you watched the porn. I did watch it. It wasn't, wait until I finish. You talked about watching it. Wait a minute, I don't know what you're talking about. Which incident? What you said, with respect to Keith, he still had the tape. She starts crying now. Something about, he asked her, is something about your testimony making you sad? And she said, yes. I'm just tired of saying that I watched child pornography. He said, yeah. Well, let's look at this statement. You signed and said everything on this was true. She said, I said to my knowledge. 2007, after that meeting with Rob, you contacted Keith. She said she contacted Keith because he was afraid to deal with Rob. We went to Chicago. You went to Chicago with the tape. Got to Chicago. Brown took them to the attorney's office, and Daryl McDavid and her watched the video in the office. Keith brought the video to Chicago. Doesn't say anything about a hotel. It doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I didn't ask that. It doesn't mean that we didn't watch it. Answer the question. No, it doesn't say anything about a hotel. The reason the attorney office disappeared from your testimony is because Keith did deliver a tape, but it wasn't to Daryl McDavid. That's definitely not true. What's here is different from what you said this morning. That's why I said I can't recall. Doesn't mean it's different. It just means I can't recall. You made money with R. Kelly. I was given money from R. Kelly. You wrote a book, not just about R. Kelly, about my life. On the back of the book, it prominently features all information about R. Kelly. Yes. You got money from that book. Most books do sell. He said, I brought the book, so you probably got some of my money. She said, well, if you brought the book, thank you. The book is about your life with Kelly. Yes. You were on Surviving R. Kelly. Yes. Talking about your relationship with R. Kelly. Yes. You were on TV. She said, well, I don't look at that as like it was a good thing. You weren't threatened to go on TV, were you? She said, I don't understand what you're trying to say. Were you forced to go on TV? She said, no. Why would I be forced to raise awareness? You testified to a threesome. Yes. With other people? Meaning she had threesomes with more than just Jane. Yes. And you had threesomes with adult women. Yes. Were they videotaped? Yes. You didn't refuse to be taped, did you? No. Were these videos contained in the duffel bag too? Yes. So it came a time when Kelly was not around and you reached in his bag and you thought and went through it. Yes. You watched one at a time. She said, I popped them in. You found one that you was on. Yes. But there were multiple videos with you. Yes. You found one of you, Rob and Jane. Yes. You said you took it. Yes. You took it because your primary concern was you didn't want no one to see you with a 14-year-old. She said, no, I didn't want Rob watching it. But yes, I also didn't want nobody out. I didn't want it out in the media. He said, so you had the tape in your possession, correct? Yes. R. Kelly didn't know you had it. No, he shouldn't have known. He shouldn't have known. He should not have known. You could have did anything with that tape. Yes. Kelly wasn't there to stop you from doing anything with that tape. No. You could have even destroyed the tape. I could have if it had crossed my mind. So he repeated all that again to her. And she said, and he said, I'm sorry, she says no, because that didn't cross my mind. I didn't destroy it because of that reason. So if you had destroyed it though, no one would have been able to ever see it, right? Yes. No. Instead, you sent it to someone else. Yes. You sent it to Keith Morale. Yes. He has another type of relationship with Chuck. Yes. You took the tape you had and sent it to someone else, a friend. Yes. Okay. Someone asked, so is there more tapes? No. More tapes of her, but they're irrelevant. So don't mind that. Don't mix that up. No one from Georgia stole any tapes. No. You didn't have more than one tape. No. You didn't know anyone else in Georgia with the tapes. No. Chuck was an associate of Keith's, right? Yes. You never told him a story about a guy taking a tape from you in Georgia. He said, no, I didn't. So pretty much at this point, the government's witness is now contradicting the other government's witness. So at some point, Keith told you that Chuck may have a tape and of you in it, and Keith, she said, yeah, Keith implied that. So in addition to speaking to the agents, you also spoke to people from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in Georgia, February of 2019. Yes. When you met with them regarding the events related to the tape. Yes. You said it could have been Chuck that made the copies of the tape after Keith told him to maintain the tapes for a certain period of time. She said I could have after the Facebook conversation we had. That happened around the same time. That happened around the same time. But you can't give insight as to why he would be asking that. No, I don't know. The tape you're talking about, you didn't have a copy, did you? No. You never turned in a copy to law enforcement? No, not me personally. That's your word, right? Yes. Consistency is what you said is all about when it comes to this tape. It's very important, right? Yes. So going through what you said, what you saw. A threesome was on the scene. Yes. A checkerboard scene. Yes. The white lingerie scene. No doubt indeed. So you had no doubt indeed that this is the tape that you had. Yes. He repeats the order of the scenes again. And she says, I assume so. Again, Rob and Jane alone. Yes. Second scene, Rob and Jane in bedroom. Yes. Third scene, threesome in the log cabin. Yes. You mentioned earlier you testified at another trial. Yes. Ask questions about the tape. Yes. Asked about the tape with Jane. Yes. Attorney says her at that time that's when McDavid's attorney had said the real name of Jane twice, so there was another sidebar. He came back, he said, I'm sorry, Jane. The tape of Jane plus Rob in the log cabin wasn't the one that you was actually worried about. He says in the statement, she says, the first time I seen that tape, I had never seen a tape with Jane. She said, which statement is that? Because I don't remember. So this is a statement that she gave to the Cook County trial jury. In front of them, she gave them the testimony that she never seen a tape of Rob and Jane, only us three. She said, I don't recall saying only or that. Then they showed her that's what the transcripts say. She said, well, I think what I was trying to say was he told her to stop. She kept going and she said she didn't say recall. She said she didn't recall saying anything different. Okay, so now during another testimony, she told them that she had never seen a tape, and the tape that they showed her was the first time she seen a tape of Rob and Jane together. Okay, so then he says, we talked about the order that you seen the tape. She said, yes. You reviewed that and said she said, I said to the best of my knowledge. Again, the attorney says Jane's real name. Also, you were on Surviving R. Kelly. Yes. Episode 3, the sex tape scandal. She said, well, I don't remember the exact episode. They described the tape that she took. Watched the tape and came across. They said you watched the tape. You came across others. You said you saw the tape with Rob and Jane without you. And then you had to fast forward some. She said, well, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but maybe. So let me, because I know you guys. What she said on Surviving R. Kelly was she took the tape, she watched it, she watched tape, she watched others, and then she came across the tape with Rob and Jane without her. She said she actually had to fast forward some to get to the part that had the threesome with all three. I'm sorry, she said she had to fast forward some to get to the part that had just Rob and Jane without her. So she said, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but maybe. So then they started playing Surviving R. Kelly in court. At first, they played it just for her. They just did the subtitles. Then they played it, the audio for her. And then there was some objections from the government still. So at that time, McDavid's attorney was like, you know what, Your Honor, since they want to dispute this or whatever, now you need to just let the whole courtroom hear everything that was said on that. So the judge was like, yeah, okay. And they played it for us, and we was able to see exactly what she said. So she said, all this time that I've been reading, you guys, it was the first scene was Rob and Jane. The second scene was the bedroom. The third scene was the threesome. In Surviving R. Kelly, she says that she found a tape and she was watching it and she had to fast forward it. And the end of the tape was Rob and Jane. But before, she was saying the beginning of the tape was Rob and Jane by themselves. So I just want to make sure y'all understand that, because they were going back and forth. This is when it started acting like a whole Chuck moment again. A lot of talking over each other. The reporter telling them to stop, slow down, talk at one time. So then it says they're playing. I said that they're playing it in court, and they asked her, "Did you see what it says?" She said, "Yes, that's you, right?" "Yes." So he repeated it again. She said, I seen that. I said I seen it. So she said, well, Surviving R. Kelly played it out of order. So so now she's saying it's Surviving R. Kelly's fault. So then she begins to argue back and forth with the attorney. So then they played it again. And then and then they give the order of the scenes. She gives the order of the scenes differently. They said when you were testifying in Cook County, you weren't fast forwarding the state's video, were you? Because she was trying to say, now she went to blaming it on the Cook County the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, saying that they had played the scenes out of order. So then he asked her, so are you saying that you were fast forwarding? That's what you were talking about when you were on Surviving R. Kelly, that you had to fast forward that video? Is that what you're talking about? And so she says no. But here you say you fast forwarded some through some of the scenes. She said yes, but she still maintains that she didn't say it like that. And he says, okay, whatever. So if we circle back to your testimony in 2008 and then to to Surviving R. Kelly, you said that you had never seen a tape of Rob and Jane. No, I did not. Then he tells her how she's saying in the transcript something different. So then he asks, so you're saying that the transcripts is wrong, the agents is wrong, and you are wrong. So then she starts to try to explain how it was different, why all of her statements is different. And then he says, so now you also adding that you're saying that Surviving R. Kelly was wrong too. And she said, I said they changed the order. That's what I said. I didn't say that they were wrong. I just said that they changed the order of the video. So you told us earlier today that Darrell McDavid gave you $20,000 after Keith failed the test. She said, I don't remember that honestly. And this morning you said that you did remember. There was an objection. So right there, I don't think I wrote all of this down. So right there, when there was when you said honestly, okay. So when you said honestly, I don't remember. Was that the truth, or which one is the truth? Because this morning you said that you remember. She goes on to say, "What are you talking about?" So he explained it again. And she said, well, you're trying to mix up my words. And I did say he gave me $20,000. You cut me off so I couldn't finish. So he said it again. She said, I didn't need you to start over. She said, I need you to just start all over. So there was an objection in a sidebar. So after she said, can you just start over? The judge was pretty much like, what the argument was about, what the chat was about. Get the haters out of there, because they're saying there's haters in the chat. What the argument was about was, she said, I honestly don't remember. She's saying now that she never said that. So the attorney asked the reporter, can you play it back to where she said that? And then the judge was like, you know what? I could just go back and see. So then the judge went back and he actually read that she did actually say, I honestly don't remember. And they were like, okay, see. So then after they did that, she was saying this morning she remembered. Now she's saying she honestly don't remember. So then they said, Rob didn't give you the $20K, did he? No. Darrell McDavid gave you the money, right? Yeah. Rob didn't tell you to go get the rest of the money, did he? No. Darrell McDavid told you that he would, right? Yes. You talked to Surviving R. Kelly about payments. You talked to Rob about getting the tape, saying that she didn't. They said that on Surviving R. Kelly, she had said that she had talked to Rob about getting the tapes back, but she didn't know if she would be able to. So then they again repeated what she said on Surviving R. Kelly. What she said was, he ended up giving a payment. He said he will give the rest. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't write what she said on Surviving R. Kelly, because it was basically just that she had told Rob that she could get the video back, but they're gonna want something for that video. So they asked her, he ended up giving payment. He said he would give you the rest, correct? But in this, you didn't mention Darrell McDavid at all. She said, true, because it was Rob's money. The only he you could have been talking about was Rob. She said no. So on TV, you were speaking about Rob in court saying Daryl McDavid. No, I would have said I would have said that about Daryl McDavid. So at this point, she's saying when she said in Surviving R. Kelly, he ended up giving payment. He said that he will give us the rest after trial. That's on TV. That's on Surviving R. Kelly. The lawyer saying only people that would have watched that would have thought you were talking about was R. Kelly. But you told us that you wasn't talking about R. Kelly because you didn't have these conversations with R. Kelly. You were talking about Daryl McDavid. So she was putting false information on TV. So then they say, so you took some things that didn't belong to you. She said, well, I didn't take it. He left it. He wore it, right? Yes. It was his, right? He paid for it, right? She said, yes, but I didn't take it. He left it. You actually gave it to another guy. She said, yeah, what was I going to do with it? He said, well, did you think to call Rob and give it back to him? She said, no. He said, so you stole the watch. And she said, no, I didn't steal anything. He left it. When you were asked about the watch to the grand jury, they asked you and you stole it and you said, yeah, I took it. And so she's saying that she didn't say she stole it. She said, I took it. And then he showed her that, no, you didn't say you stole it. They asked you that question and you agree with it. So she said she just didn't consider that stealing. She said because she didn't take it from him. She took it from the hotel. And then he said, and then you did the same thing with a necklace. He said, yes. He said, so I suppose you didn't steal that either. She said, no, it was a similar situation. She said, I'm not no cat burglar or anything. So the videotape you did steal. How can you steal something that you're on? That was just as much my tape as it was his. You talked about why you didn't destroy it. Yes. In 2001, you took the tape, you gave it to Keith. He held onto it for 6 years. And she said, well, I didn't say he had it for 6 years. And then he said, well, from 2000 to 2007, that's 6 years, right? Oh, yes. So you never tried to get that tape back, or you never tried to get it destroyed. He repeated that. The tape that you're so concerned about. She said, yeah, I left it with him. And you didn't actually try to get the tape or do anything with it until you thought you could get some money from Rob. He said somehow you found out that the tape was being sold by Keith for $200,000. She said yes. She said yes, his people was trying to do something with it. So you wasn't trying to get some money for yourself? She said no. I just wanted to get the tape back. You didn't say that exactly to Keith though, did you? No. That you wanted to get the tape back to get it to destroy it? She said no. You said you wanted to give it back to Rob. He said yeah. But you took the tape in 2001 because you didn't even want Rob to have it. But in 2007, you found out that you could get some money. Now you want to give it back. Yes. Same man you said you were disgusted by. You were compelled to do things that you didn't want to do. This is the same man that you want to give it back to. She said yes, because he had the most to lose and he could get it back. Yul Brown told him that Yul Brown told you that you could get $200,000 for it. Yes. You said Yul Brown contacted Rob. Yes, he did first. Then he got caught with an AK-47, and and you had him contact Rob. I didn't have him do anything. He did it on his own. Then I called Rob. Wouldn't it have made more sense for Kelly to contact you after Yul Brown called him? I don't understand what you're saying. So then he repeats his question, and we took a break after that. Okay, let's see. I'm taking a break too. Okay, so then they said, you said that Brown called Kelly to explain the situation a little bit. And then she said, go back, because I don't understand. Go back. So he repeated it. She said, well, from what I know, he said that he contacted him. And then you called him. We were in contact. I don't remember who called who. Truth is, Yule called to shake him down. Then Kelly called you about that. No. Before Yule called, you actually called him. You actually had already called Rob. No. You did call Kelly. I'm sorry. You called Kelly? Yes. I have a sex tape saying I have a sex tape involving you, me, and Jane. Yes. You said you didn't want to talk about it over the phone. Yes, if that's what it says. So right now I'm sorry. Right now I should have said that. We're looking at the grand jury statement. The grand jury statement in 2008, where this is what she had said. She called Kelly. She told Kelly that she had the sex tape of all three, and she said that she didn't want to talk about it on the phone. Now earlier she said that Kelly didn't want to talk about it on the phone and made her come to Chicago. That's how they ended up in the jacuzzi. So when you called him, he already knew what you were calling about. No. Did you call him to talk about the tape? I'm not 100% sure who called who. You told Kelly that there was a tape and you couldn't get it back unless Keith got some money or something. No, I don't think I said some money. Well, it was something. Something would obviously mean money. She said, no, that's not what it's saying. That's not what that means. She said, I could have been talking about, they could, something could have meant music or something, him making music or something for them. They did used to record with him. So you saying you didn't suggest anything about money to Rob? You didn't say, oh, so you're saying you didn't suggest anything about money. You're saying Rob said, oh, I'll give you the 200K? Yes. The man you saying needed something was Keith, right? You said you didn't ask for the money. Yes. Kelly said, I will give you the 200K without you even asking, right? Yes. After discussion, you and Keith came to Chicago. You and Keith came to Chicago. She said, well, we didn't come anywhere together to Chicago. Okay, you came to Chicago. Yes. He came to Chicago. Yes. You said with the tape. You said you wasn't expecting any money that meeting. No, I wasn't. And then you received 20K. Yes. Even though you never suggested anything about money. Yeah, you got it right. Then you came back and got 50,000. Yes. But you wasn't seeking any money then. At that point, she said she spoke to Durham McDavid and had knew what would be dispersed between them. Says you didn't get the same amounts. She said, I didn't. I agree with you. She said Durham McDavid works for Rob, correct? Yes. You stated that Rob said that he was going to give you 200K. Yes. But then now you're saying Durham McDavid is just changing up different amounts and just telling you what he not gonna do basically after Rob told you this. He's basically limiting your money. I did say that, and I said that because I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying. He gave me 50K and he told me to come back to get the 30K, and you didn't call Rob. She still didn't answer that question. She wasn't answering that question because basically what he was trying to say is if Rob said you can have the money and Daryl McDavid is telling you can't have the money, why didn't you call Rob and tell him about this? He gave you the money. So you're saying he gave you the money, he threatened you, and then you told him you would come back for the other 30,000. Yes. Daryl McDavid said Rob already knew what was going on. That's why I didn't call him. After you went home, yes. After he threatened you, yes. Because when I was home, I didn't fear for my life. I did call Rob, but not then. So you're saying he threatened you the third time? Yes. Because it wouldn't make sense for you to come back if he threatened you the second time. Yes, I would have came back if he would have told me to. So he threatened you the second time. No, the third. Okay. She said not. She said you're mixing me up. Okay, so to the U.S. federal, to the U.S. state's attorney, to the U.S. attorneys, your statement in April 2019, you said that you were threatened by Daryl McDavid in the attorney's office. Since the situation was unsettled, you returned home and waited for another visit. Yes, I may have stated that incorrectly. Oh, yeah. No, you made a mistake, so it's very possible. Daryl McDavid is Rob's accountant, right? I assume so. He's his business manager. I assume so. Didn't you think? Did you think that he was a murderous accountant? She said, "Well, not until he said that he was gonna murk me." You remember Keith, right? Yes. So when did you first find out about this trial? What trial? It's been many trials. This criminal investigation right here. She said a few years ago. The exact date was February 24th, 2018. Did you have the Facebook conversation with Keith? When did you have your Facebook? I'm sorry. Did you have a Facebook conversation? You asked if I ever. Oh, when you had your Facebook conversation with Keith, you asked him, "Have I ever told you why I was crying when we went and met with Daryl McDavid about that tape?" She says, "I mean, I don't know. You didn't let me finish. I don't know." So he repeated it again. Then she said, "Yes." He said, you just said he threatened you the last time you came. Yes, but you said the last time you came, there wasn't no tape. You said Keith wasn't there. He wasn't. There wasn't a tape. Then she said, why would a tape be there? If this does anybody know me to stop and ask, do y'all got any questions? Because I know this is kind of confusing.
Yeah,
okay, so the second visit, she initially said she went, they had to do the polygraph, right? She said that they did that polygraph in the hotel, and Daryl McDavid made her go into a bedroom and watch the video. He sat in the living room. That's when they received the tape. So that's how Daryl McDavid had her watch it, and he asked her, "Is this the tape?" She said yes. But now she was saying that they was at a lawyer's office. She mixed up all of her days. Now she's saying that she said he threatened her the third visit. By the time they started questioning her, it switched up because she told the grand jury and on the transcripts something totally different. The third visit, she said Keith wasn't there. But in the transcript here, in the Facebook message, she asked him, did I ever tell you why I was crying when we met with Daryl McDavid about the tape? If Daryl McDavid threatened her the third visit, how could she have told him about why she was crying as if he was actually there and seeing her crying? Is that making sense? Does that make sense, Tanya? So he's saying you're lying about where you met him and what he said. Let me say this too. When she made that comment that he said that he was gonna murk her, Daryl McDavid turned around to Rob and laughed. And for everybody that be asking that question, they did conversate somewhat today too. So I know it's kind of confusing, but she's lying about the meetings that she's had and she's mixing them all up. If that makes sense. That's why she was able to take 3 polygraphs, because she came the first time, the second time, and the third time. Why Keith only took 2 polygraphs, because he only came twice. But she stated in her to the grand jury and stuff that she was threatened on her 3rd visit with Daryl McDavid. But that can't be true. So she also said to Keith in that Facebook message, I'm gonna ask the production company if anyone will want to know about him threatening me. So she was actually trying to score a deal, another show or something about Daryl McDavid. They said, so you told us that there wasn't no tape at the 3rd meeting. She said there wasn't, and that Keith wasn't at the 3rd meeting. No. So in the message, you're not talking about the third meeting. And then she says, I don't know what you asking me. Because he definitely threatened my life. He definitely threatened my life. And I'm telling the truth because that's what I do. That's exactly what she said. And I'm telling the truth because that's what I do. But when you were talking to Keith, you're not talking about the 3rd meeting. Are you prepared to admit that death threat never happened? No, I'm not. You didn't go to the police the 1st or the 2nd time with a death threat. No, I didn't. You went after the 3rd meeting. Yes, because I had a daughter and I needed to protect my daughter. You told us today that Daryl McDavid told you to sign a statement. Yes, y'all remember I said that. She said he told her to sign that statement and told her what to say. You said he came up with the idea. She said, well, I'm not really sure whose idea it was. But Daryl McDavid did communicate it to me to make the statement. Okay, so in April 2019, you had signed a statement saying none of that was I'm sorry. You said in April 2019, you said that an attorney at the office made you make a video statement about not having a relationship with Jane. Well, Daryl McDavid told him to do that, but you didn't say anything about Daryl McDavid asking you to do anything in that statement. I'm not sure, but I'm sure his name is mentioned somewhere in this report. Then there was an objection. They said that you signed this statement saying that all of this was true. She said that statement Daryl McDavid made me sign. You had no relationships. You had no relations with Jane. Yes, I did. Did Daryl McDavid make you do that? Yes. He says, my point is that in 2019, you didn't mention Daryl McDavid. You said that a lawyer told you to make a video statement. She just like, forget it. She said, yes, if that's what's there, then that's what I said. That's what's there. You said this morning as well, Daryl McDavid was supposed to give you more money. Yes, he was supposed to give you $30K. And he did, and was supposed to give you $50K that you didn't get. So now all this time I've been saying, and she said she got $50K and she was waiting on $30K. Remember? Now he told her, he switched it up. It said, no, she switched it up. I'm sorry. He's supposed to have gave, he was supposed to have gave me $50K and she's waiting on $30K that she didn't get. The $50K she did not get. And you said that there was supposed to be more after the trial? Yes. That same interview, you told agents you returned for another payment at a later date to receive from Kelly. That payment never materialized, and the rest still after the trial. I don't remember saying that. I always said I received 30K. Okay, so talking earlier about the Facebook messages and talking about a tape and whether Chuck had made copies. Yes. And she said I still didn't want it out. That's why I asked if anyone had copies. The only one that should have had it is the people that was in it. Keith says if it ever existed, LOL, you should be the one to have it. In a Facebook message to Keith, she says, I still don't want it out. That's why I'm asking if anyone has copies. The only one that should have it is the people in it. Keith says to her, if it ever existed, LOL, should no one have it but you? Yes, that's what it says in the message. But he's not talking about a copy. If another copy exists, it should. She says, but he's talking about another copy. If another copy exists, it should be in my possession. That's what we're talking about. He tells her, you have to admit that your story has changed several times when it pertains to Daryl McDavid. And she said, no, it has not. Going over all the things that you said, he started going over all the things that she has said from the federal, the state, the statements that she's made, and what she said today in court. He says how everything has been different. And then there was an objection about that, and he said, okay, that's fine. He said, my point is the reason for you changing all of these stories is because the tape that you turned over to the law enforcement wasn't the tape of you robbing Jane. It was actually the tape of you robbing his wife. And she said, definitely not. I have never had sexual relationship with Julia. So then he goes to, he's talking in general about surviving R. Kelly, the grand jury, and to the agents. He says, this is the reason why the sequence of the scenes in the tape keep changing, because the tape you were supposed to have wasn't really the tape that they were dealing with in 2007. She said, that doesn't even make sense. Why would I even do that? The judge tells her, the attorneys ask the questions, not you. When Daryl McDavid told you that there was no money, you started making threats to go to the law enforcement about damaging Rob's career, with damaging information. And she said, definitely not. And then they actually contacted you after you was putting that out there. She said, no. And he said, you said the consistency in the statements is very important, correct? Your word is very important. Yes. A bit of the testimony that you said this morning, you said you told Rob that you were 17 years old at the Home Alone video shoot. Yes. Your birthday was June 11th, 1980. Yes. When you told him you were 17, you knew your age, right? Yes, I did, but I had just turned 18. So you're saying you forgot your age? No, I'm not saying that. So you know the shoot wasn't even in August. It was in September of 1998. Yes. Your birthday was in June of 98. Yes. You were 18. Yes. But you forgot. No. Was that statement false? She said, well, when I thought back to it, it was cold because I remember him giving me a sweater. So I figured it was in the colder months or maybe the spring. Then he repeated some of this, and then she said yes. So basically, she has to say yes. She admitted that she lied. You testified to the grand jury that you actually testified to the grand jury too that you were only 17 when you met him. So it wasn't a memorable. So it was memorable, correct? She said no, not at that time. I couldn't remember the time of the year it was. I said on there, to the best of my ability, I was 17. To the best of my knowledge, I was 17. So you knew that you were telling them that telling them that you were 17 years old will make them consider you a victim, a minor. She said, no, I didn't know that. They told you that. They told you you will be minor number 2 and that they will seek charges for you because you were only 17. And she said, well, I guess so. He said, well, on Surviving R. Kelly, you said that you were 17. She said, I said that, yes, because that's what I thought. At this time, y'all, I want y'all to, Rob was he had his head down and he had his hand on his head and he was kind of like shaking his head and stuff. So this part was really disturbing to him. So he said, did you know that they said that you had to be 18 to be I'm sorry, we're going past that. So did you know that being 17 allowed you to be a minor and a victim? I never ever claimed to be either of those. You also said you had been you also said that you had been mistaken all along about your age. Yes. Did you know at the video shoot you wouldn't even have been allowed to be there if you weren't 18? I don't remember them telling me that. Showing an interview in 2018 on one occasion when you were underage, when you said you were underage, you traveled to Chicago to meet Rob using an older member's ID to see him. She said, okay, I'm sorry. Showing an interview in 2018, she told them that on one occasion when she was underage, she traveled to Chicago to meet Rob using an older family member's ID. And then that's when she said, well, if it's there, then that's what I said. You knew you were 18. You didn't need to borrow nobody's ID. And she said, I did that because I had lost my ID. Well, that's not what here in the statement. You didn't tell them that. No, I didn't. You weren't you were leading the agents to believe that you were actually a minor. So she was actually, what they're saying here is that she was lying to actual federal agent or state agents about her age. She was trying to lead them on to make them believe that she was a minor. She says, no, I thought the girl on the tape was 16. I'm just stating that that's the truth because that's what I do. I tell the truth. She said, I had friends that was 16 when I was 18. I thought she was 16. She said that she was testifying before, she said she would have testified before they even had gave her an immunity. She said that they had given her, when she said she didn't even know when she was going to testify against him that she was getting her immunity. She said they pulled her to the side right before she got ready to testify and said, hey, you got immunity for this. And she ended it, the defense actually ended it right there. They was like, no further questions, Your Honor. So did y'all hear that? She not only she was lying to, so now we understand why she was going to be arrested probably in 2008, I'm guessing, because she was leading them on to believe that she was a minor, and that's probably why she was kicked out of the trial in New York. So she wanted everybody to believe that she was 17. I don't understand why she told Rob that he did ask for her age and she told him 17, maybe because she felt like that, I don't know, that's what he would like, so I'm a lie. Yep, she's been saying it. She's been saying it over and over again that she was only 17. She was only 17. She was actually 18, and they showed that you couldn't even get on that video shoot unless you were over 18 and could prove it. So when she said she was 17, that was a lie. She wouldn't have been at that video shoot. So then Brown's attorneys just asked a few questions. It was really short. They said they're not going to ask about what's on the tape. They want to ask about the physical tape. They said the tape was left in a bag that was left unattended. She said yes. When when it was with you, you went into that bag. Yes. You had to watch the videos. You had to watch various videos. Yes. They weren't labeled at all. She said, I honestly, I'm not sure. You know Brown as an assistant, right? Yul Brown is separate from Milton Brown, correct? Yes. Brown was a runner and assistant, and he picked up money and things like that. Yes, and she said he did other things, that Rob needed handled as far as driving people, picking up guests, etc. She said he took you to pick up money for Rob. He picked up money for Rob, yes. If it was for Rob, she said yes, and he'd pick up other money if it was for other people as well. Um, you said he drove you to the attorney's office. Yes. He let you out. Yes. He stayed in the car. Or did he go up? She said no. He did not go up. He stayed downstairs. He didn't go up. Each time he drove you there, it was a task. Yes. You said he asked you if you were upset. Yes. He asked because he was not there. He didn't know what had happened. She said, well, I don't know what he knew about it, but yes, he was not there. And they said no further questions, and the judge had actually ended it for the day. So the only person that's left to cross-examine Lisa is Bonjean. And then I was all. You guys. That's it.
Good job. What's going on, Robert?
Huh?
What's the impeachment about?
I know that was kind of her. You said what, Tanya?
The impeachment?
Yeah, they kept talking about impeachment, but they didn't. They was talking about impeachment as if they was like as if what I'm guessing is the impeachment has something to do with something that's under seal, because it's not like they stood up and said, Your Honor, her testimony should be impeached. That wasn't the case. The government was actually saying something about, like, I know they're trying to get her testimony impeached, to that sense, or this is about the impeachment. So it must be something that they're talking about that's under seal, that's not available to us. I was wondering about that too, and I knew that they wasn't saying, "Oh, let's impeach her testimony," because in actuality, they caught Charles in way more lies yesterday or whatever day it was than they caught her in lies today, and she's still testifying. So yeah, I don't know what that impeachment was about. Any other questions? Because I know that was kind of confusing, but they said while the reason she's mixing up the time she went to the office and the sequence of the video that she's seeing, because you look at a video and you can clearly, something like that, I feel like you gonna know what's what. But the fact that she's talked about the video so many times, and each time she's changed up what she's seeing, they're saying the reason why she can't remember her story is because Jane was never on that tape. It was what we heard in the opening statements. It was Rob, his wife, and her. Yeah, they may have been talking about her being impeached in 2008. And maybe that's why they didn't really hit her hard with the questions. Then I think they saving a lot. And you know what, you guys, I'm gonna say this: a lot of Daryl McDavid's attorney's questions, it really helped Rob out a lot. It was something in here. Did you get that, Tanya, when I was reading? Because he asked a lot of questions. Rob didn't tell you this. Rob didn't say that to you.
Yeah.
So how the defense is saying it played out, her and Keith put together something where they figured out, after they held onto that tape for so long, somebody was interested in spending $200,000 for that tape. So then once they got that oh, okay, we can make some money off this tape. That's when they decided to take that tape to back to Rob and say that they had it, and they asked for 250,000. And so that's how everything transpired. She had got, because I didn't understand. Your guy just got arrested. Police then came in the house and caught him with all kind of guns. And you telling me that you worried about Daryl McDavid saying he should have murked you? Not that he gon' murk you, but saying that he should have murked you in the beginning? Past tense? No, come on, let's be 100. Let's keep it real. No, you not. The first thing I would have did if somebody would have said something like that to me, I'm going to my dude because obviously I got a street nigga. Excuse my language. I'm gonna holler at him and let him know what he just said to me. So I can't say that I would believe that that was what was said. I don't even see that. That wouldn't even make sense. Why would he say something like that, not knowing what she would do with that information, not knowing if she would actually go to the police and jeopardize whatever he had going on? Does that make sense? And then you could tell she started to get nervous because she was stuttering a lot, kind of choking up. But at some points, what I don't like about her testimony and what I don't like the most about Charles' testimony is the fact that they had to repeat more than once. I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. When you got to keep saying that you're telling the truth 9 times out of 10, it's because you're lying.
Yeah.
That's what kind of bothered me. You don't got to keep telling me that you're telling the truth. And it does prove he did ask, he was checking for IDs. And even after they said on the video shoot, you were not allowed to be there if you weren't 18, he still asked, how old are you?
Which further proves that he was not interested in the girl.
See, some of these people, they heard the stories that they heard, the stuff that the media put out, it damages these celebrities. It follows them because when people hear this stuff, it's so many people that's out here to do such negative things. When they hear it and then they get an opportunity to meet you, they use that stuff against you. Because that's the only reason I could see her saying that she's 17, knowing daggone well she was 18. You heard somewhere that this man liked young girls. And so you decided that you was plotting from day one. Because it absolutely made no kind of sense. I'm trying to see that. You see any you ain't worth nothing. My niece is supposed to be over here helping me read the comments to see if there's anything I needed to answer before I got off. And she sleep. Yeah, Tori, I can't wait for Bonjean. She said, Judge, you might as well listen, I'm not gonna be done with her. We might as well go ahead and end for the day.
Yeah, I would go in there, but I got this echo. I don't understand.
Oh, I'm looking. It's okay, time. I don't know why that's on your side. They need to do it now because of the lines. They need to don't say so. Oh, don't say too much. Okay. Good evening. Hey, new subscribers. They have to put it in for her to be impeached. Yeah, but the defense wasn't mentioning anything about impeach. It was the government. That's what was throwing me off. Oh, that's why I didn't really put anything in my notes because it wasn't no sense of me bringing it up if I was kind of confused about it. The testimony alone was confusing, so this needs to be ran and tweeted everything that could be done. No, Miss Cece, she didn't tell him she was 18. She told him she was 17. I wonder when he found out the real age. I wonder, did he? Well, he had to know. I just wonder when exactly did he find out that she had been lying about the age. And then she says, "Can y'all?" She took his stuff, and what got me is when she said he left it. What was I supposed to do with it? And the attorney was like, "Well, you couldn't call him and give him back his jewelry." And she said, "That didn't cross my mind." If you with somebody and they leave something somewhere, how does it not cross your mind to call them and say you left this? She said she was more concerned with how many people he was dealing with that he didn't remember that he left it with her. But this is while she's going through a bag full of videotapes, she say, that has all different kind of women in it. So you know he dealing with other people. So why are you questioning that? You should just call him and say you left your watch. But she sends it to Keith. And then why are you that stupid? Why are you sending? Let me shut up. If you're gonna steal something, at least keep it for yourself. Any other questions, y'all? I can't believe she told me. Oh, she told Vlad that she was 17 as well. I wonder what they thinking. Dang. She was all over the place spreading that lie, huh? Oh yeah, I think that's her he talking about in it. I admit. All right, I don't went up too far. Okay. Tanya sound like a robot. Not on my end. I wonder why. She know about the other one. She was bragging about that 250 on Vlad. Wow. Yeah, well they pulled them. They pulled them Facebook messages. She was on the Breakfast Club too. I wonder how all these platforms feel knowing they allow her to come on there. I wonder what the 3 questions was that she failed on that polygraph test. But unfortunately, they couldn't talk about that. But I wonder how all these platforms feel about that. Somebody said, "What happens with the 30 years if he wins?" That's a separate trial. So he's actually waiting to they put in a motion for an appeal. So we're just waiting on that to appeal that sentence. And I don't know how it works in federal court, so I don't know if they can use. But I said that I feel like if they could use part of this trial, they should, because it'll probably benefit them with the appeal. On Vlad, she said 100K. Wow. Wow. Hmm. You said a lot don't care who tells it as long as it gets out. But when you tell one lie, you got to tell another and another and another. And this has been going on. She's been lying since, well, the lies started in 2007 and it's 2022. That's a lot of lies to keep up with. Um, okay, you guys, everybody that's saying thank you, you're welcome. You are so welcome. The platforms are all on the takedown. It's their job to push that narrative. Yeah, they say drama sells, negativity sells. That's sad. That this is the world that we live in, but sad. I haven't I haven't been able to watch any mainstream, so I don't know. Since doing this and going to trial, I don't think I've watched the television in over a week. Um, soon as I get off here, I go straight to bed and get up in 5 hours, 6 hours. We still talking about R. Kelly. Yeah. The industry is definitely dead. I can agree. He wore an all black suit today with a black tie and a white shirt. It looked nice. You are so welcome. Stand up and be counted to. All right. I don't see no more questions. So for everybody that just came on, or came on late, yesterday I said that the trial is supposed to, I mean, not the trial, the government is supposed to finish up by Wednesday. Today they said they probably gonna go take their full 3 weeks, and they're gonna go until next Friday. So the defense won't take, dang. So if that's the case, this trial is probably gonna last longer than 4 weeks, because you got 3 defense attorneys that actually got to get up and call witnesses and stuff. Yeah, so next Monday, the defense will be up. People don't know what R. Kelly means to our Chicago. Nope. Why she mad at Vlad? Why is Drea mad at Vlad? What did they do to her? I don't follow the case through mainstream media. I just watch YouTube. So thank you for all that who bring us the information. You are so welcome. Okay, Tanya. Drea will be doing her cabaret show. Yeah. All right. Okay, you guys. So thanks, Nova. I really appreciate you, love. I appreciate you. I will see you guys tomorrow. I said it out of order. I said Keith and then what's her name? Lisa. So I guess it's Lisa and then Keith, because they're doing a lot of talking about him, so he got to be coming up. So yeah, I see you guys tomorrow, because tomorrow should be interesting too. They are no longer trying to straighten it. No. I'm gonna say this though, but being in there, it seems a lot like they really trying to get Daryl McDavid too. Like they coming harder. But all right, you guys, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30. About 8:30. Okay. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.